Florida's Women in Energy Leadership Forum was launched to inform, inspire, motivate diverse talent to join the energy workforce by intentional recognition of current female energy leaders who contribute to growing Florida's economy and the purposeful sharing of their professional journeys. We are creating opportunity. Join me each week as we meet new leaders in energy and listen to their important roles in an industry that is vital to the country's future. Hello there, and welcome to this week's Florida's Women in Energy Leadership Forum. I'm with some Gunster rock stars. These are some of the best lawyers at the Gunster Law Firm, a statewide firm, Florida statewide firm, prides itself on being Florida's law firm for business. I've had the pleasure of working with each of these ladies. I'm going to have them introduce themselves in just a minute. But you might ask, why am I talking to the lawyers? What is this connection to Florida's Women in Energy Leadership Forum? Well, you all may recall that part of the initiative is to highlight the different careers that are available to people who are interested in the energy industry. And lawyers are a critical component to that. So with that, I want to start with the one I know the most and have the pleasure of working with and really have great respect for, Beth Keating. Beth, tell us about yourself.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I work with electric and gas utilities. The bulk of my work involves regulatory work before the Florida Public Service Commission. But I also work with pipeline companies, and I work on franchise issues and purchase power agreements. So I do a lot of things on the side, but the bulk of my work is before the Florida Public Service Commission.
And Beth, what Gunster office are you in? I know you have a statewide practice, but what office are you in?
Tallahassee. I'm in the Tallahassee office.
Luna, I'm just working the circle here. Luna, welcome.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for having me, and welcome everyone. Luna Phillips. I'm in Gunster's Fort Lauderdale office, and I head up our environmental and land use practice group. And my background, I work a lot with private developers, the agricultural community, and energy companies. I represent all of our clients in front of our environmental agencies, both at the local level, at the state level, and at the federal level. So from the Army Corps of Engineers, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, Florida Department of Environmental Protection. I've done work before DEP obtaining site certifications for electric companies here in Florida. And also I work with a lot of developers who are looking to make their communities very sustainable and energy efficient. And I work with them on meeting certain ordinances and requirements in order to implement that.
Thank you, Luna. Julia.
Thanks, Lila. It's great to be here. And actually, from my perspective, really fitting to follow Luna. I chair our construction practice group and our industry focused transportation group as well. And so the folks I'm working with are trying to either generate power in some way or move some sort of energy resource in some way. So a lot of times my involvement is going to come right after Luna. Something's gotten organized, ready to go, past environmental pieces, and now we're going to come in and start doing construction and design and building something. And so that's really my role. I work with clients both on the contracting side and some of the sort of business issues that construction clients have to deal with. And then also, when we have it, deal with administrative claims and litigation in that world as well.
I think one of the things in your career that you all have in common is even though Gunster is a Florida law firm, in many ways you all have a national practice. You're working with companies that are not just working in Florida. Julia, I think you in particular, you're doing transactional work and contract review, drafting and review with companies that are working outside of the state of Florida. Is that correct?
Absolutely. We often have projects going throughout the country and at different times overseas as well.
And are you still the president chair of Global Law?
I am. I'm just finishing my first year as president of Global Law and will start my second year in November.
What is that, Julia?
Global Law is a network that we belong to of firms a lot like Gunster, firms that have a very strong presence in their local communities, have great ties with the state or the country that they're in. But these are firms from all over the world that have joined together so that we can make sure we can meet a client's need wherever that might be. And so it's a great organization of friends, of colleagues, of incredible lawyers that are just a moment away whenever a client's dealing with something that might not be in our backyard, but might be in someone else's.
And you're the chair of that now. How long is your term?
It's a 2-year term.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, Luna and Beth, so like me, we did our time at a state agency, and one, we live to tell about it. Two, we're very proud of our time there, right? We have a lot of respect for our agencies. Beth, I think that sometimes law school graduates forget about government as a career path. What has it meant to you?
Oh gosh, it's really meant a lot. One of the advantages that I found in coming out of law school and working with the state agency was that I was sort of immediately thrown into the fire. I had an opportunity to work on cases, to be basically the lead attorney, first chair, very early on in my career. So you really didn't have time to be nervous for very long. You sort of had to learn on the run, but it was really good that way because you had not only experienced attorneys around you to help you learn on the run, but a fabulous technical staff that also was there to help you learn the subject matter, which in our field I think is particularly important.
Yeah, I know you share this with me, Beth. Let's get a shout out to the Florida Public Service Commission that just has, I think, the best technical staff in the country. You've heard me say this over and over again, but it's true. Some of the best technical staff and leadership in the country, and just great things to say about the agency. And how about a shout out to Noreen Davis that hired both of us many years ago, right, Beth?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Made us work.
Can't say enough about Noreen or the technical staff. I mean, all the numerous engineers, economists, accountants that have patiently walked me through the details of things that I'm sure sometimes they thought I might never get. So
tolerated the lawyers, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And Luna, you can't relate to that, can you?
No. Very. I agree. I echo everything Beth said. And my background was working at the Florida DEP and the Water Management District, but I think in a field which is very intensive on the regulatory side, it's invaluable to have spent time in the agency working there and understanding it. It lays a foundation, and also importantly, a lot of contacts. It's an invaluable source of contacts that will serve you well for the rest of your career, in this field.
Right. I think for me, it was also a path to become specialized in a particular area. And so not that, it's interesting. I don't think that any of us planned to do what we're doing, or in my case, I didn't really think I would end up at the Public Service Commission. It was a blind ad, I remember, that I applied to after the law firm I was clerking with fell apart, and then I was quickly out of a job. I applied to a blind ad. I'm going to show my age again. It seems like every week I'm talking about how old I am. And it ended up being the Public Service Commission, and I had to go figure out what that agency did. But, the world works in mysterious ways. And the consequence of that for me, and I'm sure for you and Beth, Luna, is you become specialized in an area that made us marketable to law firms as well. When the time became right for us to go into private practice, we already had that specialty that made us marketable, I think.
I agree. It was like a natural progression of the development of your career and your practice. And certainly that specialization is something that clients value now and seek out.
Hmm. Yeah. And Julia, you have a unique story in the sense that you didn't start your career as a Florida lawyer. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. You're right. Absolutely right. When I started practicing, I would have never thought that I would end up in Florida, but it's been great to come here. I started practicing on the west coast of the country. I've learned since I came to Florida that west coast actually means part of Florida to most people here, not the other side of the country. But I started practicing over there. And then as time went by, I found that I went from practicing in Seattle, practicing in Alaska, to practicing at more of a national level. I got involved in the Global Law Network that we were talking about a little bit ago, and met some of the other just amazing Gunster people through that. And when it became clear that for family reasons, basing out of Florida and traveling the other direction instead of basing on the other side of the country and traveling east would be better, I reached out to Gunster and asked them, what I should know, who I should know in Florida, where I should think about going. And the suggestion was, well, why don't you think about coming here? And it's been a fabulous move for me. It's been a great platform to work from. Still do work all over the country, but from a place that lets me be closer to home, which has been really, really good.
So let me follow up on that, Julia, and tell you we have our first question from our viewers on work-life balance, and I'm dying to know personally as well. So how did you manage the transition from Alaska to Florida? I know you, so I know you have children. You were studying for the Florida bar because we don't have reciprocity, it seems like, with anyone, right? Is that right, ladies? I don't know what
it is right.
So you had to take the Florida bar. So the first question we have is, ladies, what advice would you give for women pursuing careers and not wanting to sacrifice the work-life balance?
So I'll tell you, when I started practicing, I had this idea that I was going to find balance, and it was going to be this perfectly straight line, and everything would be perfect and be this like calm balance. I don't think that's what balance really is at this point. I think it's much more of this kind of curving line. And some days you've got more time, you've got more of yourself that you can give on one side than the other, but you take all the opportunities that you can both directions. So when you're not as busy at work, you take that extra time with your family. When you're busy and you've got lots of family things going, you figure out how to put work around it. But it is I think it's something you end up working on every day. Studying for the bar was definitely a challenge. I had already taken 2 bar exams, so I was admitted to a second jurisdiction before I'd qualified for reciprocity there. And I told myself at the end of 2 that was enough for anybody. And so 17 years later, getting ready for a third bar exam was not what I had planned on. But I think one of the best things you can do for yourself is find support. You don't have to do it all yourself. And whether that's a spouse, a parent, a family member, a friend, a babysitter, figure out what you need and put those things into place. When I lived in Alaska, when I first moved there, it was just my daughter and I, and I had a sitter every Thursday night. I could work late if I needed. I could go do something for myself. I could just go sit on a beach and read a book if I needed. But I think you have to find that time, you have to create that time, and you have to do it and know that all of those different parts of your life are important and they all deserve to be treated that way.
Very great advice. Great lessons. Not to be afraid to ask for help. It's not a weakness. I need that downtime. I need to be able to finish this project. You're working remotely during COVID, right?
Yes.
So this is one of those opportunities where you can spend more time at home and be with the kids, but yet not let work suffer. It's an interesting time that I think is allowing us more opportunity with family, Luna.
Agreed. I think the COVID time and working remotely, and I have two boys. They're 13 and 15, and they're both doing their school online here at home. You have to manage your time and factor in when they need breakfast, lunch, help getting online while you're taking calls, attending to your clients. My philosophy on the work balance is I look at it long term. There are some good days, some bad days, some months are better than others, but I just try to look at it, from a long-term perspective and try to find the time, make time for summer vacations with the kids when maybe that there's going to be times coming up where you're going to be staying late at work for, several weeks. So, to be honest, it's something I struggle with. Every day you think about it, and you try to make the best decisions that you can. And I just tend to look at it more long term. And I agree too with asking for help. It's something that as a working parent, you really need a support system that you can count on.
Beth, we have a question for you. It's how have you managed any challenges that you've encountered because of remote working? So, client work, I know, again, because you and I are so familiar with our work, that you've had PSC hearings and agenda conferences. Have you had challenges with that, and how have you met them?
So honestly, working from home in and of itself hasn't been that much of a challenge. I've got two kids, so only one of them is at home, and we've been very fortunate to be able to organize the household so that we all have pretty decent computer access, and most of the time the Wi-Fi is working all right. So from my end, honestly, it hasn't been that challenging. The agency itself, the Florida Public Service Commission, has definitely had to implement some different measures and strategies to accommodate hearings and rulemakings and agenda conferences. And I think that's kind of been a work in progress, but they've done a fantastic job. It's certainly not anything that anyone was anticipating at the beginning of the year, but so far, from what I've seen, they've done a really good job of coordinating that and allowing both attorney and witness participation via video. And so far, so good, honestly.
So Luna, I told you Brian would submit a question. So Brian wants to know, what did you learn in state government practice and procedure that's helping you provide counsel to your clients?
Interesting. I keep going back to the contacts that I made in state agencies, and understanding that a lot of the people that when I was there, and I was working as an attorney in state government, and now I'm representing private clients before them, many of them are still there. And so some of the best lessons that I learned is that, these relationships that you build when you're in government, and you want to take them and really just nurture them and keep working on them throughout your entire career, because you never know in this field when you're going to encounter people that you've worked with in different settings. So they may be, an adversary one day, but then aligned with you in another setting. So to me, that was one of the most eye-opening lessons, especially when I transitioned into private practice from being in state government.
Yeah, absolutely. Julia, have you had any remote hearings yet?
I have.
Yeah.
And I've been surprised by how well those have gone. It's a little bit nerve-wracking, I think, especially the first one where you're hoping that everything works. But it's been impressive, I think, in a lot of ways, how the courts have adapted over to trying to use new technology, get everybody working. And I'm grateful here in Florida versus some of the other states that I'm in. I think our judges have kept things moving forward. Yeah. So I've got cases on the other side of the country where we haven't been able to do anything. versus here. And I think that is something to be grateful for. We're still moving things forward.
Right.
Mhm.
I don't
And
know, Beth, if it's changed since you and I were doing telecommunications at the PSC many years ago, but if you were still in Alaska, I wonder if you would have had the technology opportunities, Julia, that states like Florida have been afforded.
Mhm.
Just sad commentary, because obviously we want everyone to have those technology opportunities. But
Mhm.
Luna, you were going to comment on that.
Yeah, on the issue of the hearings and doing them remotely, the Division of Administrative Hearings is doing all their hearings now via Zoom. And we've got one hearing that's coming up in a couple weeks, and the judges were telling us that they're not going to be traveling for hearings until well into next year. So we can expect all the hearings to be conducted by Zoom. So it's been interesting. We've conducted our depositions via Zoom. They're going off fairly well. What I will say is that the judges are just very open. Any questions that any of the parties have in trying to ensure that we do it correctly and get documents over electronically, they have been very open in answering all of our questions. So we'll see. I've got one coming up in October, and we're looking forward to it.
So I think my opinion about the future as it relates to hearings and agency work, ladies, I mean, I think it would be true for the court procedure too, Julia, is some of the lessons that we learned during this time will be incorporated into efficiencies going forward. I think now that agencies know that they can use technology to their advantage and eliminate some of the cost pressures, this may be some part of our professional life going forward for years to come. And I don't know that that's a bad thing, Luna and Beth, is it?
As an example, many of the governmental meetings that I attend at the water management districts and the federal government have all been Zoom with, public comment period open at certain times. And while many people do miss that personal interaction and saying hello in the hallways or sitting down and having a bite to eat together, on the other side, many more people are able to attend these meetings than they would have. So there's been even some public comment to the agencies saying that when we return back to normal, that they would still like the Zoom option to continue. So I think you're right. I think we're going to see more of this even when we go back to normal, whatever that looks like.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Beth?
I was just going to say, I think so too. And on top of that, at least from our clients' perspectives, I think it's been sort of a cost-saving measure because they're able to participate without having to come all the way to Tallahassee, which, as everyone knows, is not the easiest place to get to sometimes. So
Exactly right. That's exactly right. So ladies, at the Florida's Women in Energy Leadership Forum, our mission is to inform, inspire, and motivate. So let's focus on the inspire part for just a minute. What inspired you to go to law school? Julia? Why did you want to be a lawyer?
So I'm kind of odd that way, actually. I finished my undergrad work not really knowing what I wanted to do with my life. I have loved building since I was a little kid. I was the nerd that came home from family vacation with postcards of buildings because I thought they were cool. And I studied English with writing, technical writing and poetry, and I minored in architecture in college, and then finished that and thought, what do I do with this? Started working on a construction management degree and in working discovered that there was this entire field called construction law. And it took all of these things that I had done in my life because they interested me, and it tied it into one package that said, no, wait, this actually looks like a plan. This makes sense. And so I went to law school specifically to be a construction lawyer, and came out of law school still wanting to be a construction lawyer, and have pretty much spent my career doing that, and then got into the transportation sector through that. But for me, it was seeing something that was exactly what I wanted to do, and took everything that I was interested in and put it in one place together, which has been fabulous.
So, Julia, if I'm an energy company and I've looked at the need of generation, and I'm working with a builder, a contractor who's given me maybe a design build contract. That would be a great time to hire you to work with that contractor, right, and the builder to make sure that our clients, that the energy companies are protected in that contract. Is that right?
That's absolutely right. And I would even say a little bit earlier than that, because one of the things that we can help clients with is figure out what's the best way to design and build this project for you. And there's all sorts of different ways that you can accomplish that in terms of who you hire and whether you combine design and construction or whether you do them separately. And I think bringing us in at that point where we can help really think about what the company's looking for and the best way to get there, it makes a big difference. And starting with that, being really partnered with the energy company moving forward, I think can be really, really successful.
Good, good. Luna, why law school? Why the practice of law?
And I think back on it, I grew up in South Florida on Miami Beach and always around the environment, water. And when I was actually a psychology major in undergrad, and for a while I thought I wanted to go into that field, but really what I really enjoyed was debating and writing. And so law school for me was a melding of all of that, the writing, being able to persuade, debate, but also that psychology piece, which is interacting with people, understanding what people are trying to do or get to. So for me, law school was able to wrap up all of those pieces for me. And I didn't start law school thinking I'd be an environmental lawyer, but it just became a natural progression. I started taking some of the classes in law school and started to really enjoy that. And then from there, I just went into state government. But I look back on my choice of law school as really just the best fit for all the different pieces that inspired me and really are the things that I enjoyed as when I was in undergrad and growing up in South Florida.
You know, Luna, in the energy industry now, finally, there's a lot of conversation about the energy water nexus. Mm-hmm. And you have been exposed to both. You are very familiar and work in the areas of water law. I know that you are very active in water law associations. What does that nexus mean for you in terms of client work?
Yeah. So, here especially in South Florida, but really all over Florida, water is the conversation. That is what everyone is talking about. Do we have enough? Do we have too much? Depends on where you are and what is it that you're trying to build or achieve. I like to say our state is feast or famine. It either rains too much and we don't know where to put the water, or it doesn't rain enough and everybody is fighting for the few drops of water that we have. A lot of our clients look to us to help them, whatever project, energy, industry that they are in and trying to develop their project or reach their goal. Water is going to be a part of it. And we try to help guide making good choices, good sustainable choices to meet the client's needs. But I can say that almost all of our clients right now, especially if you are looking to build something here in Florida, water is going to be at the top of your list in terms of things that you have to consider, how you're going to implement that and how that's going to meet your goals and your business plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that. So Beth, where did you go to undergrad?
University of Southern Mississippi. Woo, go Eagles.
And then you came to FSU Law School.
No, the first question is, though, how many people know where that school is located?
Well, I can't answer, right? Because I know you, I know where it is. But
yeah, so I was a political science and history major. So I'm not sure I really had a huge choice as to whether or not to go to law school. But originally, my big plan was I really wanted to be a campaign manager. and to actually get into the political side of things. I loved politics. I loved seeing how things work. I sort of, even though I don't have a psychology degree, I love the interaction of people and how they react to different platforms. So that was my plan. But I actually was challenged to go to law school in a way. I guess it's part of I'm super competitive, and a young man that I happened to be friends with in undergrad was planning to take the LSAT, and he made some quip about that. It would not make sense for me to take the LSAT, which of course, I then
Game on.
probably signed up for the LSAT.
Yeah,
and
good for you.
Then once I had my score, of course, I was like, well, maybe I'll go to law school. So I can't say that I had a real defined plan that I was going to go. In all candor, a lot of it was chalked up to just competitive nature. But then when I got into law school,
someone had a plan for you. It might have not been you.
I wish I could say I had my life planned out, but no. But once I got into law school, I found that I really liked it. I liked, it factored in a lot of those aspects that I liked about politics and government. So I really, once I got out, I decided to use my degree.
You do realize you have said live now that you like political campaigns and political goings on. So it'll take you 5 minutes to get your first fundraising request. But
oh yeah,
or my former colleague and your colleague Larry Williams is going to tap you to do some of the fundraising for the firm, right?
Oh yeah, I didn't say I like fundraising. I like the strategy part of it.
Ron Brise, are you listening? Beth just volunteered. So I'm teasing about Gunster. As you all know, I am always touting Gunster because, frankly, it's just a wonderful state firm. Love it. It's my last firm. Absolutely enjoy your leadership there and everything that Gunster has accomplished on behalf of the state. I want you all to talk about what the firm has done for each of you to provide opportunities and what distinguishes that organization for you. Who wants to start? Luna, how about you? You're at the top of the screen there.
All right, sure.
I think you're on mute, Luna. There you go.
Better? Okay.
Yes.
I think what Gunster has done for me and developing my practice as well as our environmental practice at the firm, it's really provided support to be able to get out in the community, be able to join different groups to improve our practice development, our client development. And I would say that Gunster has just, without question, provided the support that is crucial, particularly in this field, to be able to be out in the community, meet with clients, meet with regulators, and really be able to participate on a meaningful level, not just maybe attend a meeting here or there, but really invest the time to become engaged in different groups. Like, for example, I'm on the board of the Florida AWRA, American Water Resources Association, and the firm has given me the opportunity and the support to really be a board member and engage with that group for several years now. And that's the kind of support that I think is really important as an attorney developing your practice, and I very much appreciate that.
Beth, I mean, you did launch and grow the Public Service Commission practice for Gunster, Beth. And out of that came a lot of opportunities, I think, to be involved with associations and have some leadership opportunities. Do you want to talk about some of those?
Oh, absolutely. I echo everything that Luna said. Excuse me, I have a guest appearance.
Which one is that, Beth? Which one? Wait, y'all have to hear this. Beth, how many pets do you have?
So, 2 dogs, 2 cats, and some fish.
Yeah.
And that's we're actually probably on the low end in terms of pets. We've had more, but
Today, yeah.
Yeah. So sorry about that. But yeah, I would really echo what Luna said. I mean, I think Gunster's done a really good job of allowing me opportunities to engage with and participate in different industry associations that have enabled me to get to know the different players in the electric and gas industry and really engage on a more direct personal plane. The Florida Natural Gas Association has been a great partner over the years. But the other thing is kudos to you, participation in the Women in Energy Leadership Forum. That has been a fantastic opportunity and has really brought in, a whole new range of people that, we have an opportunity to get to know and engage with and learn from, and hopefully at some point in the future, assist.
Yeah, thank you, Beth. Thank you. And then to really meet people at a very personal level,
Yeah.
too, where you're making, on top of your professional work, making some personal differences in each other's lives. It's a good thing to be replicated, and I hope it does get replicated across the country. Julia,
I think that's important.
it really is. It really is. There's no, what is it you and I always say, no pride of authorship. For those of you not familiar with the forum, we started it 2015. Gunster's Bill Perry was, he said we had him at hello, very supportive of the initiative. The idea was, how do you very softly create a dialogue around encouraging women to join the energy industry, which provides a lot of high wage, sustainable jobs. And Gunster is the sole law firm sponsor. They're today's sponsor. And they initially sponsored all the students. And the forum does that today. And it's certainly a legacy that will move forward, but it could not have moved forward without the support of the Gunster Law Firm and that management team. And it's just an example, right, Julia? Because you then came into Gunster and were very quickly, I think you were very quickly thought highly of to be part of Global Law, correct? What has Gunster meant for you, and what are the things unique to that firm? If you were recruiting someone from the outside, what would you say the opportunities were for you?
Yeah. So, it definitely was important to me that Gunster supported Global Law. And what is, I think, a little bit unique about Gunster and also about Global Law is the firm that I came from was also a member of Global Law. And the two firms worked really collaboratively on the transition. My prior firm understood why I needed to be on this side of the country. And I think that the fact that the managing partners at both firms knew each other, worked with each other, made the transition really easy, kept all the relationships intact, was just great. But a lot of what Gunster has been for me right off the bat is, you leave somewhere, and part of what's so difficult about that is that's the community you've been part of. That's where you know all the government officials. That's where you know the bankers and the insurance brokers. And so coming to this side of the country, a lot of those relationships, I didn't have in Florida. And being able to step into a firm where it didn't matter if I had that relationship, because somebody had that relationship and that person was going to be immediately willing to work with me to help make sure our clients got what they need, was just fantastic. And I would say that partnered with the fact that we've got really subject matter, all sorts of subject matter covered. We've got amazing lawyers that know their practice areas inside and out. And so being able to reach out, especially right when you're starting, to people I didn't know, and get amazingly helpful responses, and get a chance to work with just great people as well was fabulous, and made for a great transition over.
Yeah, absolutely. So Beth, we've gotten another question for you related to what are your observations of the energy companies addressing issues related to the pandemic. So how are the companies working through the COVID pandemic?
I think they've all, from what I can see, taken a very cautious, structured approach. Safety first. They are very focused on keeping customers safe as well as their employees safe. And so far, I mean, they've been, from what I can see, they've been doing that. I know they're also monitoring costs and issues associated with that surrounding the pandemic, but they've taken, much like responding to a hurricane, which they're so used to doing in Florida.
Right.
They are focused on the customer and focused on safety.
Yeah. And we'd be remiss, let me give prayer and acknowledgement of folks in Northwest Florida today and in the weeks to come. They're dealing with the Hurricane Sally and the impact the last 48 hours. Folks in Pensacola, I think they were saying, had over 3 feet of rain the last 24 hours, right? So our prayers are with those families there today. But you're right, Beth. It's like, and I've said the last few weeks that if any industry was used to dealing with crises, sadly, but if any industry was used to dealing with crises, it's the energy industry, because of all of the storm issues they've had to face the last 15 years. They really have crisis response down.
Absolutely.
And I say that also for the viewers that are interested in pursuing engineering degrees or construction, Julia. They are essential workers. These energy employees are essential workers. I often say they're first responders, right? In many ways, they are. So have the utmost respect for them. So Julia, let's focus on the motivate part of the mission of the forum. What advice would you give to a student considering a career in energy?
I would say probably a couple of different things. On the motivational side, I think there are so many opportunities in energy. I mean, it covers so many things. I mean, we've talked about environmental. From my perspective, energy might be constructing a power plant, but it might also be converting a marine vessel to be powered by an alternative energy source. So if you're interested in energy, I would say think second about what part, because it can take you in so many different directions. And I think that makes it such a fun and fascinating field to work in. So I would say find that and follow what you're passionate about. It doesn't have to be morally passionate, but what makes you interested? What makes you curious? Find that thing and follow it. And it makes all of the things that are difficult, like the work balance that we were talking about, so much better. And there's so much diversity in this field. You'll find something.
Absolutely. Beth, what about you?
I think Julia hit the nail on the head. I think find what you're interested in, and there may be that path for you in the energy industry. If I was speaking to somebody that was in college, I would say there are so many cool opportunities in the energy industry that you've never really thought about. Mm-hmm. And it's being involved in this industry, you get to have to work with amazing people and also work in a field that has an impact on the whole state, on people's everyday lives, and on the economy of the state.
Yeah.
So it's really meaningful work to me.
So while we try work to get Luna back with us, Julia, let me ask you a question. For women who are already in the industry, but looking for a promotional path, an opportunity to advance, not quite sure how to do it, what to do, how to have the conversation. What advice would you give them? And I'll tell you where that's coming from, Julia. I often hear in this work, there are no places to advance. I'm watching the men rise through the organization. I don't know where to start or what to do.
So I would say two things. The first thing I would say is don't sell yourself short. I read an article the other day that talked about how women won't even put themselves forward often for a promotion unless they feel like they hit every box.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to hit every box. Challenge yourself to reach and try for things. If somebody tells you no, you haven't lost anything. But if somebody tells you yes, you've made another step. So don't be afraid. Try it, even if it's not perfect. If it's interesting, if it's engaging, it's an opportunity, pursue it. The other thing I would say is my experience has been people like to tell their own stories. They like to share with you how they got somewhere, and they often like to help you get there. So if there's somebody that's doing something that's interesting, reach out, talk to them, take them to lunch, find out how they got there. Tell them you're interested in something similar. And it's amazing what can come out of those conversations. And just the fact that now somebody knows you're interested in that, I think can start creating opportunities. And so reach out and don't be afraid.
Yeah, absolutely. So Luna, welcome back. The question that Julia just answered, I'm going to pitch back to you, which is if you're already in the industry, and it's important to note, this really isn't unique to this industry. Your wonderful advice, Julia, would apply in any profession. But if you're already in a position, Luna, and you're looking for an opportunity to advance and not quite sure how to do it, how to have the conversation, what advice would you give that person?
That's a really great question. I would say that if you're looking to advance within your field and you don't know how to start, look around to see the people that you're aspiring to be in that position and who are their contacts. Where are they spending their time outside of the office? Are they in certain groups, in associations, volunteering? Look to see who the people you're aspiring to are doing. And if you are lucky, mentors, you can't, it's invaluable, the advice a mentor could give you if you could seek somebody out. But I would just take lessons from the people that you're aspiring to be and see where they are being the most successful and where are they spending their time.
Great, wonderful. Beth, you want to wrap that question up for us?
Sure. I mean, I would agree with both Julia and Luna. I think personal relationships are important, and you can learn a lot from the people that are in positions that you're interested in being in or doing jobs that you're interested in doing. So definitely ask questions. I love Julia's comment about that people like to tell their stories and how they got to be where they are. And I think that is 100% accurate. And I found that to be the case in my career too, that there's always somebody willing to just sit down with you and sort of lay out how they got to be where they are. Right. Find that person. And the other thing is too, that, and this is again, kind of along the lines of what Julia said earlier, but even if you're not sure if you can do a job, do it anyway.
Right.
Just do it anyway, because you will surprise yourself and
you rise to the law school. You might go to
you might go to law school and graduate.
History. Yeah. So one of the things all of you have in common is recognition by best lawyers in your fields. And that's quite a distinction. It really is. And it's quite a distinction to have so many women in our profession recognized as best lawyers. So in the few minutes we have left, I want, if you remember, I hope that you do, what are the areas, Beth, you are recognized as a best lawyer?
Energy law.
Mm-hmm. Julia?
Construction.
Luna?
Environmental law.
Good, good. What do things like that, Beth, mean for you?
I think that sort of recognition, does validate that you're doing a good job.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly it helps to have that sort of recognition. But at the end of the day, I think it's really more important the recognition that you get from the clients that you work with.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that personal relationship, the acknowledgement that you're a helpful part of the team.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And we are blessed with great clients, that's for sure. Luna, the designation, Beth is absolutely right. It's definitely not as important as the client satisfaction of your product. But in terms of your professional path, there is a recognition, excuse me, there is a recognition that you have achieved the same amount of success and excellence in your profession as your colleagues. And what does that mean internally for you?
Same as Beth. I think it's very rewarding to have that recognition and that you have, reached a level of success within your career to be recognized. To me, what makes those recognitions more, I guess, important and fulfilling is particularly when they come from your peers. So when my colleagues, whether they are within the firm or other attorneys that we work with outside the firm, whether we're aligned or even adverse. To me, it's very rewarding when you are able to professionally recognize one of your colleagues as having reached that level of success. And I find that it's very important. And to me, it's quite an honor, particularly when it comes from your peers.
Right. Yeah. And Julia, are there many women in construction law?
Many more than there were when I started practicing, but it's still definitely an area where there are fewer women than men. I think I had practiced for 10 years before I was in a case where I had a woman on the other side of the counsel table. I mean, it has just historically been very male dominated. I think that's changed and is still in the process of changing. And there's some incredible women construction lawyers out there, but it's definitely still a place for it to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're going to close with this question. What, Beth, in your career, what has been the greatest moment?
Oh my goodness.
I know none of y'all knew that was coming. What's been your greatest moment, ladies?
Greatest moment. It has to be career related.
Yeah, I think it should be, because we're trying to inform, inspire, motivate women to join the career. Because I know there's nothing more important than family to all of us. We know that. There is nothing more important than faith and family. But for your profession, what's been your greatest moment? And any of you, let's start with anyone who has a response first.
I think what stands out in my mind is working with a particular client that had a new CHP facility that was sort of a new creative project for the state, but particularly for this utility. And to be involved in that project from its infancy through completion, construction, coming online, and entering into purchase power agreements, and seeing it just be a successful project, just to be a part of that I think that probably stands out. It was
Absolutely. And I know who that
amazing.
is. I know who that is. Julia, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's got to be tied to the relationships in this. I know Luna and Beth talked about relationships at the beginning, and I do think that's such an important part of our practice, but it is such a rewarding part of our practice. And so, one of the things as a young lawyer, just kind of starting out in my first couple of years, I think one of the moments that was the most meaningful was actually being invited to a client's birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
Which it was a client I'd worked with really closely, closely held business, family owned business. And, that company, the people in it kind of had become family. And so to find that from their perspective, that's the level of team that I was on with them as well, was just an amazing feeling. And I think Beth was just talking about that as well. The idea that you're really part of something, that you're helping build something, whether that's a company or a project, is just a great feeling and a great place to be.
Yeah, when your client starts treating you as in-house counsel, you're part of the team. Identifying the lawyer as our team is such a rewarding feeling and opportunity. Luna?
Yeah, I have a lot of similar thoughts in terms of cases I've won or clients who start treating you as part of their family. But I think at the end of the day, probably my biggest rewarding step in my career was when I became a partner at Gunster, because, I started for many years in government practice, and I left government practice because I wanted to change, but I wasn't really sure what private practice was about. And I like to tell the story. I started private practice during the recession. I had a 7-month-old and a 2-year-old. And I started as an associate here at Gunster. And then many years later, when I became a shareholder, it was rewarding because I was able to, it was gratifying because I was able to show I did it. I made the right choice, and all my partners here at Gunster recognized it too. So, I look back on it, and becoming part of the Gunster partner family is really still one of the most rewarding parts of my career.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, ladies, one of my greatest moments was the opportunity to work with each of you. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate what you do, not just for your firm, for your clients, but also for those generations that come after us, the people, all of those women and men who want to pursue this career path, and the doors that you open for each of them every day. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for being on our show. And for those interested, the viewers that are interested and want to go to that forum that we've been talking about, it's November 11th through the 13th. We're going virtual this year. You can register at flwomenenergy.com. We hope to see you there. Ladies, thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate you joining us. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.